This is Precalculus Chapter 2.4, the Library of Functions. We're going to be focusing on the piecewise-defined functions. Let's get started. Let's take a look at number 28. So let's focus on negative 3x. If you're graphing negative 3x, this is how it looks like. We're going to put an open circle where x equals to negative 1. For f of x equals to 0, where x equals to negative 1, this is basically saying that you have a point at negative 1 comma 0. Let's just go ahead and plot a point at negative 1 comma 0. The last equation, f of x equals to 2x squared plus 1. Go ahead and draw the function. Here we are. This is where x is greater than negative 1. Remove the left side of the parabola, and this is going to be your piecewise function. For letter A, you want to evaluate f of negative 2, and this is when x is less than negative 1. So you want to plug in negative 2 into negative 3x. So f of negative 2 is going to equal to negative 3 times negative 2, which equals to positive 6. For f of negative 1, basically saying that x equals to negative 1, your function can only equals to 0. So f of negative 1 equals to 0. For f of 0, this is where x is greater than negative 1. So you want to plug in 0 into 2x squared plus 1. So 2 times 0 squared plus 1 is going to equal to positive 1. This is number 32. Let's go ahead and focus on the first function. F of x equals to 3x, where x is not equal to 0. So you're going to draw a line for f of x equals to 3x. And make sure you guys put an open circle here. So this is saying that x cannot equal to 0. So the next function, where f of x equals to 4 and x equals to 0, this is saying that you have a point at 0 comma 4. Let's go ahead and plot a point right here at 0 comma 4. This is your piecewise function. Now let's analyze letter A, the domain. As you can see, the linear function gives you all real numbers for the domain, but here is an open circle. Even though there is a hole on this all real numbers, look at this point. It helps to fill up the hole of that open circle. So your domain is still going to be all real numbers. For letter B, the only intercept you see is right here. This is where y-intercept is equal to positive 4. Or you should write 0 comma positive 4. For letter D, the range. This linear function covers everything from top to bottom except this point where y equals to 0. Your range is going to be all real numbers except y equals to 0. Let's take a look at number 38. So I'm going to go ahead and graph 1 over x. This is how it looks like. So for the interval where x is less than 0, we're going to erase the curve in quadrant 1. Now let's go ahead and look at the second function, cube root of x. So this is how the cube root of x looks like. For the interval that the x is greater or equal to 0, we're only going to keep the one that's appearing in quadrant 1. This is your piecewise function. Domain is going to be x is greater than or equal to 0 and x is less than 0. In other words, domain is going to be all real numbers. For letter B, the only intercept you see is at the origin. So you're going to put 0 comma 0. This is for x-intercept and then y-intercept. For the range, it's going to be y is greater than or equal to 0 and y is less than 0. So in other words, just all real numbers. For number 44, we're going to write a definition of the piecewise-defined function. So let's take a look at this function here. First of all, I'm going to solve for the slope. So you have negative 1 subtract 0 over negative 1 subtract 0. So your slope is going to be negative 1 over negative 1, which is going to be 1. So next, I'm going to choose this point. I'm going to put it in the point slope formula. So y minus 0 equals to slope is 1 times x minus x1, which is another 0. So y is going to equal to x. If you look at the interval that we start our x equals to negative 1 and then end it with x equals to 0. So x is between these two values. So I'm going to put f of x is equal to x and then put a comma. The interval is negative 1 less than or equal to x less than or equal to 0. Now let's go ahead and figure out the function of this line. Slope is equal to 0 if you see a horizontal line. This is the only point that's given to us. You can put in the point slope formula. Y minus 1 equals to 0 times x minus 2. Y minus 1 equals to 0, so y equals to positive 1. You see that this function starts from this point, and this is an open circle where x equals to 0 and ended at x equals to 2 with a closed circle. So the second function, you're going to write it as f of x equals to 1, comma, the interval is going to be 0 less than x less than or equal to positive 2. And this is your definition. Let's go ahead and solve for the slope of this line. So slope is equal to 2 minus 0 over 0 minus negative 1. This is 2 over 1, which equals to positive 2. If I pick this point to be in the point slope formula, I'm going to write it as y minus 2 equals to 2 times x minus 0. So y minus 2 equals to 2x. Y is going to equal to 2x plus 2. So let's look at the interval of this function. So you see that x starts at negative 1 and ended at x equals to 0. So x is between negative 1 and 0. So f of x is equal to 2x plus 2, comma, negative 1 less than or equal to x less than or equal to 0. For this function, the slope is equal to 2 minus 1 over 2 minus 1. So that's going to be 1 over 1, which equals to positive 1. Let's go ahead and pick this point 1 comma 1 into the point slope formula. So y minus 1 equals to, the slope is 1 times x minus 1. Y minus 1 equals to x minus 1. Add 1 on both sides, you're going to see that y equals to x. So for this function, it starts from x equals to 0 with the open circle, and just continuously to go towards the positive infinity. For the second function, you're going to write x, comma, x is greater than positive 0. And this is your piecewise defined function. All right, that's it. Take care. Good luck with your homework.